I was a hoarder of the pattern paper, and I don't know why, because I don't ever reach for it. It's just not something, I don't know what to do with it other than just to glue it down onto some cardstock and add a die cut over the top and call it a day. I just didn't know what to do with it. In today's video, I'm going to try to figure out how to use them in a clever way, if I can. All right, let's make a pinwheel. This is a 6x6 piece of pattern paper. I just eyeballed the center and drew a little dot there, and then I'm taking some scissors and cutting slits in all four corners towards the center, but not meeting in the center. And then I'll take the corners and fold them into the center. I put a piece of glue there. You can use a glue dot or whatever. And then you can see the shape of the pinwheel is there. You need something to kind of hold it all together. So I just took a paper piercer, pierced a hole, and then added a brad through it. But you can do a button or anything fun. Think of fun centers. So you can make a whole bunch of pinwheels in all different sizes. Just start with a square piece of pattern paper. Next up is some DIY glittered paper. I chose this beautiful floral spray from Altenew's paper pad, and I'm just taking some glass bead glitter gel. Glass bead glitter gel. Say that 10 times. And I'm just smearing it over the top. I'm just shellacking it on there. And then I'll set it aside to dry. It does take quite some time. This particular bottle is so old. It's several years old, so it's very, very thick. But it lasted. But once it dries, look at this beautiful, shiny background. And all I did was add a sentiment right over the top. Absolutely stunning. Next up, use some of those embossing pastes that you may have, hoarded over time, like myself, and just use it on your pattern paper. I grabbed a stencil here from Joggles, made by or designed by Keren Tamir, and I'm just taking some, this is also very old, embossing paste, and this time I wanted to show you can tint it. So I just sprinkled on some, I had this Nouveau sparkle powder or something, I don't know, and I just tinted it, but you can tint it with refills or whatever. Tinted the paste, and then I'm just applying it through the stencil, not over the whole stencil, just a part of it. And then I set that aside to dry, but I already had all that leftover paste. I didn't want to waste it, so I grabbed a piece of colored cardstock and then blended the rest of that paste through a stencil, and now I have a second card here. No wasting for me. So once that first one was dry, and that took a couple hours, I'm lining the stencil up but offsetting it just a tiny bit, and then I'm applying the embossing paste without tinting it through the stencil. And then you'll get this little like two-tone look, maybe a little shadow or whatever. Then I just finish it off using a couple of images from my magic mug, so it took no time at all to finish off this card. So a little design over that pattern paper, and bada bing, bada boom. How about some envelopes? So I'm just taking some pattern paper and I kind of put it with the corners pointing upwards, and then I am folding in the two sides and having those corners overlap just a little bit in the middle. Then I'll fold up the bottom, and I'm using a bone folder. It's just easier for me, but you don't have to. I'm trimming off any of the excess that's hanging off there. So I'll fold that over, and once it's folded over and even, I'll add some glue and just glue down that bottom there. And then you'll fold over the top. Don't glue it down or you won't be able to put anything inside your envelope, and that's these envelopes. So you can create envelopes of all sizes depending on what size pattern paper that you're starting with. So think of double-sided pattern paper as well, like here. That makes for some really cute envelopes. Next up, you can just tear your paper. You can grab a ruler if you want to be even. I'm typically not even, but I just wanted to show you. And you can just tear it. The messier and more distressed looking it is, the better. So just tear it. Let the pieces fray off the edges. It doesn't matter. And here I am showing you that you don't have to use a ruler. Just tear it. Just go wild and crazy with your tearing. And then you just glue it to a piece of cardstock here, which is what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of laying it there, gluing it over the top. I'll take some scissors, hack off the excess that's hanging off my card base here. Then I'll add a die cut out of my magic mug. It was already cut. So again, having that mug with already these pre-cut sentiments and die cuts and whatnot really makes putting together cards so much easier. And then another thing you can do on that pattern paper is do some ink blending. So you can totally change the color of your paper by blending on ink. I just want to take a minute and thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you look in the description below, you will see a link, and the first 1,000 people to use that link will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. I adore Jane Davies. I've been taking all of her Skillshares classes, and these are some paintings that I have made based off of her classes. And here's one I tried to wing on my own after taking her classes, and that's little Sadie. So anyway, thanks Skillshare for sponsoring. So here's a look at that card where I did the tearing and also some ink blending. So a couple techniques there. And then last, just use it like it is. Like, this is a beautiful watercolor design from a watercolored paper pack. I just trimmed it down, so I was careful of where I did the trimming to make sure I got exactly what of the design I wanted. And then I'm just going to adhere that down to a card base that coordinated nicely with the pattern there. And then I'll just heat emboss on a sentiment, and I'll add a little bit of gold foil washi tape. Let me tell you a little secret why I did that. I did not stamp my sentiment completely straight. You'll see that here in just a second. So I'll heat emboss. I thought gold would go well, but black, whatever. And then my sentiment is not exactly straight, so I use some of this thin foil washi tape, and nobody will know the wiser. But look at that. That is beautiful. That is a beautiful watercolored seam. Here is a sketchbook that I made with some of my watercolor cardstock, and here's the cover. It's pretty ugly. So why not take some pattern paper, and I'm using some matte medium gel here, and I'm just going to glue a piece of pattern paper to the front of it. I chose a piece that is like watercolored stripes or something because it's my watercolored sketchbook. You get it? Anyway, so I glued that down, and once it's dry, I'll trim off the pieces that are hanging off of the sides. This is a sketchbook. It's kind of a weird size because it's something I made myself. So anyway, now my sketchbook is a lot prettier than what it was before. So think of that for notebook covers, or if you have a clipboard, you can Mod Podge on some pattern paper on your clipboard. So there you have it, a whole bunch of ideas using your pattern paper aside from the normal paper piecing or die cutting shapes, or etc. I tried to come up with some unique ideas, so I hope I did it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. It's Sadie's turn to be. Hi, Sadie. I'm sunning. I'm sunning. Max, go away. Max, go away. Here's Sadie. I tried to paint her. You saw it in the video. She's going to that little itty bitty part of sun. That's a good girl.